All right. That is our weight room intro. As always, I try to pick some music that I've been listening to. Hopefully you guys were into it. Um, love seeing everyone's faces. Daniel Hackoff, the founder and ex-CEO of Pitsy. Good to see you. Let's see, who else do we have here? Lots of names I recognize, faces I recognize. Sam, and glad to see a lot of new names and faces as well. Before we get started, I just wanted to ask everyone, if you haven't done it so far, please turn your cameras on whenever I'm talking or giving a workshop. I'm always trying to figure out if what I'm saying is actually landing, and I can't actually do that if I can't see your face. So I appreciate everyone's cameras being on. Let's see, Jimmy outside joining. Love that. Okay, so we are going to talk about two different things today. We'll be talking obviously about ChatGPT as it relates to fundraising. But for the people that are here to hear a little bit more about the program FWC, we'll be doing that in the second half. So I appreciate you guys sticking around and hearing me for both parts. Let's go back to the deck here. That was my conversation. So first half on the right side, or my right, your left, ChatGPT. Next will be Fundraise with Confidence. So why are we talking about ChatGPT? The thing that I want to make sure everyone understands is what I share with founders who have no idea about fundraising and what it means to prepare for a great fundraise. This is a document that I prepared for the last cohort of FWC. They wanted to see how I would map everything within a fundraise. And in fact, maybe I should do this in a different screen. Can you guys see this? So when people think about fundraising, they think about finding an investor. I heard Daniel Hackoff is an amazing angel investor. Maybe I should just go talk to him. That looks like fundraising to most people. But when you map out everything that maybe goes into fundraising prep and active fundraising, what people start uncovering is that this is just a monster effort that takes a lot of time. And unfortunately, especially in the earliest days, can really only be done by one person. That one person happens to be most of you, which is the founder and CEO, because it's your story, because it's your network, because it's everything that flows through you. This additional job is going to be placed on your plate alongside another very important job, which is running your company. And so what we look for in any sort of training or support and fundraising is ways that we can make that work more efficient, make that work more focused. And what I'm excited to say is that the new technologies, that are coming out right now are really supporting that in a lot of exciting ways. So some of this for the people here who are experienced in ChatGPT and using GPT, some of this may look like stuff you've already done, but for the others who have yet to dip their toes into the world, I think this is going to be really exciting for y'all. So show of hands, digital or physical, who has even tried to play around with ChatGPT? Raise your hand. It looks like 100%. Amazing. I think most of us saw the announcements and people going crazy about it. 100 million active users in the first 2 months, and probably tested it for funny things like tell me a joke like you are a character in South Park, funny stuff like that. Others have started figuring out how to incorporate it into your workflows. And the funny thing about this is, like, I was a computer science major. I worked at a big tech company. I was a venture capitalist. I was a venture-backed startup founder. And I still have yet to deeply incorporate ChatGPT into my workflows. Like, when I think about doing something now, it's still, I'm a dinosaur at this point. It's like I go to Google. I'm like trying to Google, and then I'm going through the list of things, and I'm trying to figure out how to do the next step all on my own, when all of us need to be figuring out how ChatGPT is incorporated into our workflows. Now, show of hands, who has actually started using ChatGPT in their workflows for their business? Anyone? Okay, first hand I saw was, oh God, it keeps jumping around. Alex Andreev. Do you mind coming off mute for a second?
Yeah.
Hey, yeah,
Yeah,
can you just tell us what you've been doing?
yeah, we basically had a social intern helping us out with a bunch of, social posts. And we started using ChatGPT to go across all social channels. We have sort of two audio like buying groups. And ChatGPT, we taught it how to speak sort of our language. And now it spits out on average 7 posts a week. And our social intern is now able to do, 5 times the amount of work that she was doing before.
Love that. Love that. So wordsmithing. Oriana, is your hand up because you've played with ChatGPT or it's now in your workflows?
It's in both.
Can you tell us a little bit about a use case that you've?
Yeah, for sure. So actually, at my newer company, it's definitely a lot of like social media, blogging, actually researching some stuff. And like we do things we even use it for recruiting where we typed out, a recruiting message and we're like, make it sound kind, like a startup. And so we use that. At my previous company that is still being run, it was an automated background check company. So we actually fed it all of our data and now have an app on top of ChatGPT where people can ask, what does this law mean? And how does it affect the person I tried to hire? So very kind of wide spectrum, but it's being employed, like used in both places, pretty interesting ways.
Amazing. So out of that, all that can be used. I'll pick out tone modification. I think tone modification is really interesting as it relates to the stuff that we're going to talk about. If some of you are thinking to yourself, oh, maybe I should have raised my hand and pretended like I have used this in the past, like I don't feel ashamed. I still feel dumb every time I start writing something for the first time without using ChatGPT to like help me create the first draft of it. This is going to take some practice. And so a lot of what I want to walk people through is just seeing how quickly this can be done and how effectively this can be for a lot of parts of the time consuming elements of fundraising. So let me just quickly talk through a few slides here. Yeah, so this is just my illustration of time being one of the most challenging parts of fundraising. What we're going to do is try to enhance what you do with ChatGPT. And here are some of the things that, Oriana and Alex were talking about in terms of how ChatGPT can be super helpful, really valuable within research, analysis, organization, wordsmithing, tone modification. And I think the important things to do are to map this to some of the bigger and chunkier items within fundraising. So I often talk about these 3 categories of work that go into fundraising. Each are its own beast, each take a lot of time in processing, but the work within narrative deck, process and prep, live execution. What I wanted to ask everyone is throw into the chat what you think, which one of these sections would be most applicable to using ChatGPT for. So if you had to choose one of these 3 and choose any of these to map to these different categories of work for ChatGPT, where do you think you would use ChatGPT? Let's see what people have to say here. Okay, love it. Process prep. Okay, all Erica. Yes, very good. Okay, people pick their favorites. Erica threw out the word I was looking for, which is all of them. I mean, these are ChatGPT, anything where you're doing any sort of processing, analysis, research, or work. There's probably a way to use ChatGPT to cut out 30% of the processing time, if not more. So I want to do a live demo of something that we've done multiple times now with founders and have gotten amazing results. I have no idea who I'm going to talk to here, but what do you guys think are the most challenging parts of building a narrative that is impactful within fundraising? Does anyone want to talk to me really quickly? I'm happy to cold call, but anyone that engages with me is probably going to get more out of this. Let's see. Daniel is looking very nervous. Okay. I'll cold call Daniel. Daniel's raised probably $50 million in his life, maybe more. Daniel, do you mind coming off of mute for a second?
Yes, sir.
I think I know the answer, but where in the world are you?
I'm in Los Angeles.
Very good. Okay. So, like I said, you've been quite successful raising capital. I think every time you go to raise capital, you still have to build your narrative and the thing that you're going to tell investors. Can you rattle off a few things that feel challenging to you or are always challenging when it comes to building your narrative?
Yeah, I think so. First is kind of distilling and keeping something simple, because I think I tend to know a lot about the space and can always want to include lots of different factors of it. And so keeping it as simple as possible to make sure that I've got the right hooks for investors. Figuring out how to get to the right level of detail so that people know how big it could be without sounding overconfident or, egotistical. So figuring out the right tone. Figuring out the right proof points.
Yeah, no, those first, you were the most amazing plant ever. If I wanted to plant somebody to have this conversation with me, it would have been you with those exact answers. But that wasn't planned. So those first two, those first two things are exactly the things that everyone struggles with, whether or not you've raised $0 or $50 million like Daniel. People have called it the curse of knowledge, the founder's curse of just knowing way too much, kind of believing that everything is important and not really having the time and space to actually wordsmith this until you can get it to a really punchy, 10 slides, 20 words, anything that describes your company. And then the tone is super important. You have your own tone in your mind, but adjusting that so that it's accepted by the venture capital community can sometimes be tough. I wanted to jump over to someone else to do this live demonstration where I just want to talk to you a little bit about what your company does. Does anybody want to volunteer around that? Oh, great. Artur Negrão. Artur. Hey, how are you, man?
I'm great. How are you?
Great. Where in the world are you?
Brazil, Curitiba.
Curitiba. Muito bom. Okay. Daniel's laughing at my Portuguese. Daniel also is
That was good.
Portuguese.
That was good.
Okay, so what we're going to do right now is I have Grain. I have Grain running right now, so it's actually transcribing our conversation as we speak. So without any sort of structure to it, Artur, I just want you to start telling me a little bit about what your company does. Tell me what the company's name is, and then focus on telling me what the outcomes that your company drives towards as you describe what you do. Okay.
Sure. So we're Salvi, and we basically simplify how companies hire and manage mobile lines in Brazil. And the reason we do that is because companies struggle with this. They struggle with knowing how much they're paying, know how much, having a good relationship with the mobile carrier. And we basically bring in a 10x better solution with more technology, with better customer support. And that was it.
Okay. And so the companies that you partner with, what are they? Say it one more time. What are the outcomes that they're driving towards? What's the most impactful thing that you guys do for them?
We basically we give them an autonomy that they don't have with incumbents. So basically, from the moment they have Salvi, they have full autonomy over their mobile lines. They know exactly how much they're paying for each line, and they know things like which employees using which line and sub cost centers and that kind of stuff. So they basically, at the end of the day, they get more time and more efficient around managing mobile telco.
Love it. Okay. And then spell the name of your company one more time. I don't think it's catching it exactly.
SALVY. So Salvi.
Salvi. Okay.
SALVY. Yeah.
Great. Let me do this really quickly. Okay. And if everyone wants to have ChatGPT up so that they can be messing around, I think that's not the worst idea in the world. Okay. Just need a screen share ChatGPT. Where are you? Oops, that's not the right one. Just do this. Okay. So I'm going to say I just interviewed a founder who told me a lot about what his company Salvia does. Can you help me take the Can you take the transcript? This transcript of his description and create a tagline for his company. It's called Salvi. So I just copy pasted just crap. There's like, just. So I like not only didn't give it anything other than Artur just kind of rambling about what he does, but I also didn't really take out any of the structure. I didn't take out my random questions in there. But that's not it. So let's say try doing it in 20 words and make it punchier. Now just give me a summary of Salvi in 30 words or less. Wow. Like even that last one, Salvi simplifies mobile management for Brazilian companies with a 10x better solution, empowering businesses with transparency, control, and autonomy over their mobile lines. I don't know if it caught mobile lines, if that's the exact word. But that's probably something that I would get to if I were workshopping this with Artur. But it would take me way longer. Like I would do a bunch of wordsmithing and I would try a bunch of things. The thing that I impress upon people as they use ChatGPT is that it is a really great starting point. So I would never encourage you guys to just take any of these off the shelf, like the taglines, streaming mobile telco for businesses in Brazil, and say that that's definitely the best tagline. But I would say that if you get ChatGPT to spit out 6 taglines or ChatGPT to write 5 different summaries, that it's a really great starting point for you to overlay your own voice and your own understanding of the important words that need to be used in order to properly share this with the investing community. Some other things that I want to point out is that whenever ChatGPT comes up with a response for you, and if it's not enough, ask it for more. So like this one was pretty good, but I want to see a different one. So I'm just going to say that, oops. Sorry. That was pretty good, but can you write a different version? Right? Can you do it again? How about in 20 words or less? And this time with a more clever, wording, and you can use 30 words. Okay. So Artur, thanks for doing that. Can you come off mute really quickly and give us your own personal sense for after you read some of the options that it gave you? Like, do you feel like that was fairly accurate? Does it sound like some of the taglines you've created?
Yeah, it does. It does. It's pretty accurate, and I've been using a lot of narratives, so it's yeah, it feels right now.
Okay, good. All right, let's move on. So the next thing that I wanted to chat through here is the process and prep part of fundraising, which is a hugely time-consuming part. Can you guess what some of the more time-consuming parts that most people complain about are? You can throw it in the chat. What's the most time-consuming, crappiest part about preparing for the fundraise? There we go. Yep, I think everyone's going to say something similar. List building, investor research. Okay, so if you haven't done this yet, this is a really valuable way to use the program. Does anyone else want to come off mute and volunteer to tell me a little bit about their company before I get into this live demo? Someone new? Want to raise your hands? Okay, then I can. Oh, Racine, I saw that physical hand raised. Racine, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. Where in the world are you?
Right now in the Cincinnati area.
Very cool. Okay. Can you tell me a little bit about your company?
Yes. So my partner and I have invented a new product. It's called the Cooler Keg. And it's basically think about it as like a portable kegerator that's built inside of a stainless steel picnic cooler. But you can fill it with anything. So it comes with 2 wide mouth refillable kegs, and you can put beer in it. You can take it to a brewery. You can put cans, bottles, growlers in it. You can mix cocktails in it. You can put seltzer in it, anything.
You sold me.
Driven. So yeah.
You sold me. Okay. What type of investors do you think would be your ideal investors? Like what category of investors? Would you call them CPG?
What was that?
Would you call them CPG investors, food and bev? Like what?
I don't know. Honestly, this is an area that we're actually struggling with a little bit, because originally we thought this was a B2C product. So we thought that it would be people who want it for like tailgating and boating and camping and all of that. But what we realized that there's actually a B2B market as well.
Interesting.
Which was super surprising to us. So I almost think about, maybe in the food and beverage space, but also maybe just investors who are very savvy in like B2B, for example.
Okay. Let's narrow it down just for the sake of this demonstration. And we'll just say, maybe at first you should talk to CPG investors and see if there's an opportunity to build this, the next, it's called Yeti, the next Yeti brand.
Yeah.
I was just reaching for my own Yeti. Okay. So let's do this. We'll go through a new chat and be like, share screen. All right. Give me a list of the top CPG investors focused. Okay, we'll start there. Let's see what it does. Okay. Interesting. Pretty good, but let's guess why this isn't helpful. Anyone guess why this is less helpful? For the sake of time, I'll do this with everyone. Well, first of all, it's all investors, right? So maybe we should say, can you narrow the focus to investors that that's right, Oriana and Shannon, that focus on seed or earlier investments. Great. So it's already starting to narrow it. But I need to find individual people at these funds to reach out to. Can you suggest the names of individual investors? Amazing. But even this is not exactly what I need. First of all, it's only 10. Does anyone know what my target number usually is for people? 50 is not it. Yeah, it's 100. And 100 is usually just because it's a round number. You know, I'd rather you go higher than that, but it's 100. So they've only given me 10, but just because they only gave me 10 doesn't mean I can't say I need more than that. Can you add more? And the last couple steps that I want to show people are, these names are great, but I need additional information. Can you also list out the LinkedIn URLs and Twitter handles of each of these individuals? I've actually never written out these prompts, so this has worked for me before. Add Twitter URLs to this. There we go. Okay. By the way, LinkedIn has worked for me in the past. Sometimes when this is another great demonstration. Sometimes when ChatGPT hiccups, you can ask it to do it again and it works. And here's where it gets really interesting, because if people have done my process before, and I know Nancy has, I know Raul has, it doesn't help you that it's in this list, right? Like, you got to start adding this to CRM systems. You got to start adding this to trackers, maybe mail merges. Can you convert this to a table format that I could copy and paste? And there's even a typo in there. Let's see. There we go. Wow. Oh, look at that. This time it decided to add LinkedIn URLs. Okay. So if anyone knows my process before, like literally I would teach this process that what we just did in 5 minutes would probably take a founder that was in, unfortunately, FWC 2 and 3, a whole day, a whole night, a whole weekend to get this stuff done. But now we have tools, and FWC 4. Yep, that's right. Now we have this tool that gets us so far down the path of research where we can start doing the next stages much more aggressively, which is like mapping how you're going to get to these people, clicking on their LinkedIn profiles and figuring out who your mutual connections are. Okay. Wow. Nadir has some advanced things that I am not ready to share with people just yet. But Nadir, maybe we can talk offline because he seems to be a ninja. There was one other thing that I wanted to share with people before we transition to the next topic. Hopefully all this was helpful. But keep your eye on the space, the auto GPT and agent GPT space. This is going to be pretty exciting for what we do in any sort of research, but fundraising is one of those things. If I had to describe that in like layman's terms, which I would call myself a layman, it would be, there are these people that are wrapping the GPT technology in logical loops that'll allow it to like create its own subtasks. So if you ask it to do something, then the way that it's trained to work is to be like, well, what would the subtasks of this process be? And then it feeds it into itself. And so it essentially runs the whole thing. So if you said, I want to make $1 million, then it would say, here are the steps to making $1 million. It would be like this, and it would keep feeding itself these prompts. There is one called Auto GPT, and then there's another called, a new one that just got released called Agent GPT, which is just kind of like Auto GPT with a better UI wrapper. And so I wanted to just show you what you can play around with. This isn't stress tested yet, so this is more just making sure that all of you are on the cutting edge and thinking about this, because there are going to be more innovations that come out. They will impact your business. They will impact the way you fundraise. So I'm going to call this the fundraising buddy. And I'm just going to say, I want to reach out to the top VCs in fintech focused on Series A. I'm going to add, I've never written this. I'm going to write this strategically, see if that changes anything. And I just want people to watch what it's doing so that you all can figure out how this might work for you. So if you'll notice, the first three things it did is it knows that it needs to research and compile a list. It knows that it should analyze the investment interests and criteria to make sure that it's the right VC and to tailor outreach strategy. It also knows that we need to craft a personalized, convincing outreach. And it's starting to work through this right now. So I've tested this a few times, and again, let me, all right, so it's already running through this. In the interest of time, I'm going to, Jonathan, can you send the link to this so that people can play around with this? My last thing around ChatGPT that I want to share with y'all is kind of what I said a little bit before. This is a disclaimer for how you use ChatGPT, both in fundraising and life and business. It's not perfect yet, but it is a great starting point. And you kind of have to double check its work. But if you think about all the time you spend thinking about first drafts, initial research, and organization, ChatGPT is going to be a game changer. So I want everyone here to start thinking about how they flex the muscle of going to ChatGPT before maybe even they go to Google, or in the same situations that they use Google, because I want to see everyone here saving tons of time as they go through important things like fundraising. Okay. So I hope that part of the workshop and presentation was helpful for everyone. I know some of you are experts. So this might have been basics, but for a lot of you, I hope it opened your eyes around what you can do. If you all can humor me now, or the ones that are interested in learning more about FWC, the program, would love for you to stick around. No pressure to do so though. So let's talk a little bit about why, I do any of these workshops and why I came up with the program. So I think the biggest thing that I identified, or one of the things that I talk about, is that so many people, whoa, that's not what I wanted to do. So many people talk about this idea of storytelling and focused on storytelling. Storytelling's the one thing that you need to do, and that will give you money. The story you tell is super important, 100%. But what I identified is that the most valuable thing that you could spend time on, the element of fundraising that has the most direct translation of effort into results, is really the totality of preparation. So many founders think, if I just work on my story, that'll be great. But really it's spending time and effort to prepare a really great fundraising process and to putting as much time and effort as you can into that. And that's where the program came from. So some of you know my background. I worked in technology, both as a product leader and a venture capitalist. I was also a venture-backed CEO. But once I got out of that world, I transitioned into this. I was Silicon Valley Bank's internal fundraising coach before I finally launched my own company, Adamant, which is focused on making fundraising easier and more accessible to as many founders as possible. Progress over the last 2.5 years has been pretty intense. I started really just by saying, how can I produce a lot of content that will be helpful for founders? Not as a main business or anything. I just wanted to be helpful. So I've written a weekly fundraising newsletter with now over 10,000 subscribers, and probably have only missed 2 weeks in, actually more like 24 months now. This is an old slide. I published over 50 episodes of a popular podcast called Funded. And I've been trusted by a lot of different organizations to help put their founders on a better path around fundraising. But there was one engagement that I always describe, which helped me define what I would do next. And that was when I worked directly with a founder to try to raise capital. It was a super successful program that I ran with them, a one-on-one program, where they went to go raise $1 million and ended up raising $2 million. And when I look back on why that was, it wasn't me making introductions. It wasn't me managing their story, although I did help with that. The thing that was most impactful was that I helped them with their preparation process so that they would execute a really tightly organized and strategic outreach to venture capitalists. So when I think about all that goes into that, the preparation, the understanding, the execution, this is what I say about why this program exists. I say that because fundraising is hard for everyone. Whether you are Paige Randall, who's never raised capital, Nancy Sony, who's now raised $2 to $4 million, or Daniel Hackoff, who's raised $50+ million, I guarantee you, for all three of those parties, fundraising is going to be hard. And that's because fundraising is super lonely. Those of you who have even started doing it or have gone through some rounds know that you're the only one that can do it, right? It's the CEO, and there aren't that many other people that can even sympathize with what has to go into fundraising. You are both the lead fundraiser and the CEO of your company. So you have a ton of crazy priorities, right? Like you have to run your company, but you also have to run a fundraise, which takes a ton of time. And then whether or not you're great at fundraising or don't know anything about fundraising, there is this sense of like, ooh, what should I do? What is the best next step? Where should I spend my time when it comes to fundraising? And questioning strategies can just burn tons of cycles, both time-wise and emotionally in your head. And so when you think about all these different things, what we wanted to do was create a program where someone could go, I just want to understand that I'm spending my time the right way, that I'm being efficient, and that I'm being as effective as possible. And I want to outsource that to someone that I trust. So that's where FWC came in. Before moving on, I just wanted to describe that this program is just not for a few specific categories, and they come up all the time. Someone who's like, oh my God, fundraising is hard. I want a shortcut. Like I want something to make this where I don't have to think about it and someone will do it for me. FWC isn't that. It's not about removing work. In fact, a lot of alumni will tell you it's a lot of work. But what I commit to people is that I will outline the things that you need to do so you know how to work more efficiently and effectively. We want you to do the right work. A lot of people want to buy introductions. You aren't buying intros by joining the program. You will learn a lot of the processes for networking and accessing high quality intros, but you're not buying intros. And you might even a lot of people get great intros by being in FWC. But again, you're not buying anyone's intros, my intros, your peers' intros. And just so you know, any attempt to buy intros, whether it's like me or anyone else, you're not going to get great introductions. Like if anyone knows, if anyone's been on the VC side of things, one of the worst introductions that you can get is through an investment banker or a lawyer because they're getting paid, so it's like, okay, it's nice that you have, it's coming on my radar. And now I've heard about Recine's company or CJ's company, but I also know that you're getting paid for this. So why is this valuable? And the last thing is founders that are in need of a quick fix. A lot of times people will be halfway through a fundraise that isn't going well and they'll get nervous and then they'll go Google like fundraising help and they'll find me. I've written essays about like kick saves for fundraising and what you can do to shut down and restart a fundraise, but that's not what FWC is. FWC is designed to prepare for future great fundraises. So who's it for? It's for Harry Potter. It's for founders who are excited about what they're working on and, have this energy of they want to go after it. And they just want to be told, like, what is the best way for me to go after that? That's kind of how I think about an FWC founder. And of course, people that want to be around other people like them and do it within a community. I always talk about a quick disclaimer. A lot of people have gone through FWC and raised capital, but I don't guarantee people will raise. No one can do that. And if anyone outside of here guarantees that, I would run, because no one can guarantee that. The biggest thing to say is that I feel a deep sense of responsibility for the founders that go through my program. I think anyone in this call who has been in my program hopefully has seen that. But the responsibility that I feel is that I want to make sure that I give you the right information in ways that promote high-end execution. So that's holding you accountable, that's teaching information in the right way so that it's understood, that's driving you through exercises. And your responsibility is just to take what I teach, the guidance that I give you, and respond positively to it. Like, lean into it and just know that at the end of that, you're going to be better. Okay. I wanted to share, there is an outline. This is all on the website, fundraisewithconfidence.com. So we break down the modules. One of our interns helped put together is actually a sizzler reel from the last cohort, which shares a little bit about how the program has evolved. And actually, Raul and Nancy and others that haven't seen this yet, the program has evolved. So I'm going to play this. It's just 2 minutes long. It gives a sense for what the program feels like. So give me 2 seconds. Okay. At the end of the day, there are only 2 things that matter. It's, do I think this could be a big business? And will this founder be able to do it? The people in this list who are doing so well are also the targets of today's simulation cold call. How are you acquiring your customers?
We have an SDR team.
What is the general demographic of your user?
We're looking for folks that are younger than 25.
Scenario 1 week after your email intros go out, there are 5 firms that haven't scheduled anything. Brie, what do you think you should do in this scenario?
Yeah.
The reason this course is hard is because if I made it easy, y'all would do 50% of easy and not get it done. I'm scolding you for not doing it because we have 2 more weeks. And if you can do it for 2 more weeks, you'll have done a lot of the stuff that is necessary. We just posted another check-in homework. That's what a coach has to do, has to be like, no, the bar is up here.
What we're seeing there is something that a lot of founders have, which I call founder's curse. You have all this information in your head and you're just like giving a bunch of it to me without the understanding of what do I actually really need and care about.
I hate to say this, Luke, but you had the best cold email out of everybody.
The one-on-one sessions we had today with John and Michael, they were so good. Yesterday, I had this meeting with a local. They said, you are the most organized guy out there fundraising that I've ever seen. Like, you're on top of your shit. I've never seen that before. Kudos to you. And I was like, yeah, this is Jason. Like, it's working.
Jason, you're muted.
Yep. Thanks for humoring me around that. I think the main thing that I appreciated about what got cut up was just how interactive the program is and how simulation oriented it is. The last few things that I'll say about what this program is it's really all about increasing your chances of that goal of raising $1 million, raising $2 million, raising $5 million. and balancing that with the peace of mind that you did everything that you could to actually get there. And so we often talk about what the program is and what it costs. My outline of this, which I think is helpful for people to see, is like to actually do this well. I think you could DIY it, definitely could do DIY it. And I put together some numbers to help people think about what we're trying to do, which is like, can you have a junior employee help you with organizing things? Can you get an expert consultant who has been a venture capitalist before? Can you join a community? Can you get expert guidance from advisors? And if you had to DIY this, I think you're looking at a minimum of 20K and 1%. And we have a very specialized program that goes into this, which is 2 different programs right now. We have one that is what our essential program is. It's $4,900. And we have a unicorn program, which is a small group, essentially small coaching session. This is all on the website. So if you need to learn more about it, you can see it at fundraisewithconfidence.com. But with that price, we actually have what is called an execution bonus. Because I want you to win, we tie a $500 cash back bonus if you complete key deliverables. So the idea is, we know you need to do all these things, and we know it's hard. And we yell at you, we hold you accountable, but it's not always a stick. You also need to give it carrots sometimes. So we have some bonus triggers around whether or not you can get this $500 back, and it's things that you would have to do anyways. You need to create your investor target list. You need to do reps of your deck. You need to write these email drafts ready to go out. And if you do all those things, we send you money back. We do limit the seats at our cohort in September. We had 35 founder slots, 5 unicorn slots, all filled. At the time, I had 5,000 newsletter subscribers, 5,000 Twitter followers. This time around, I think we're going to put it at 30 founders, 5 unicorns, and we've doubled our following. So should be good. We've been great at filling every cohort that we've done. I don't think this is going to be any different. And I always like adding a bonus for people that come to any of these programs. So after this call, we're going to look at who sent in their applications. The first two founders that apply and actually get accepted, we're going to throw in a one-on-one coffee with me. And you can do that. You can use that coffee time however you want. Build a relationship with me. We can talk about fundraising, or we can just grab a great coffee, talk about startups and life. And I'll go to a number of different major cities around the world to do this. But if you just want to take that coffee with me and get some fundraising advice, we can also do it over Zoom. So the first 2 founders that apply after this, we'll mark them down. And if we get accepted, if we get them in, we'll also add that coffee bonus. Jonathan, if you could send that link, that'd be great. Also, it's important to note that we do have a guarantee, 30-day, 100% money back guarantee. And anyone that has gone through the program has access to this. If you take the course thoughtfully, if you actually watch the lectures, go to the things, do what I ask you to do, and follow the guidance. If you are not 100% satisfied, I will refund your money. No one has ever taken me up on that offer if they've gone through the program, but I'm happy to do it because I only want people super excited in the program to be part of the community. Okay. Matt, I do see your hand. Let me just get through a couple, like one last thing, and then we'll open up for questions. I already said this. Lots of great results. I just ran these numbers in case people were curious about it. I've had 139 founders. 39 have raised money. A handful are about to close, so I haven't counted that in the 39. There are a bunch that I bet are not reported. And so we've had great success. And the thing that I actually hang my hat on is whether or not someone raised capital. What I always drive towards is that going through the program will make you a better founder. And because of that, everyone comes through that. And we have a super high NPS score. So we've been super proud of everything that's gone into that. The last thing I wanted to do was in the past, or in the last session that I held, we randomly had an alumni join us that I didn't expect to join. We actually have some alumni here. I could ask them to talk, but in the interest of time, I can also just play a quick recording from 3 days ago. So let me just share this last thing. Where are you? You have like 100 windows open. Okay. We would have an alumni join us. This is not set up, so I have no idea what Sakiko would say. But Sakiko just went through the last cohort. And I was hoping we could just chat really quickly so they could hear from someone that went through it. How are you, Sakiko? You're in London?
Yes, very well. And I have to say that your program was probably one of the top 3 investments of my whole life. So really.
Amazing. Well, thank you for saying that. I wonder if you could just say like what your background was before going through FWC 5. I think it's important for people to know the diversity of stuff that you had done and where your company was already before even going to FWC.
Yeah, okay. So actually my career background was in investment management and like equities, public equities for a while, and asset management, and then kind of corporate private equity, mostly in clean tech, but quite late stage companies with long histories of data that you can forecast easily. And I was on a team that was doing due diligence and looking for investments, and I was approaching my fundraise from my start in this very late stage kind of investment analysis way, which just it was nonsense. I realize now, but it feels good because it feels like, oh, I've got a financial model, I've got my DCF, but none of that's relevant at this stage. So I thought, oh, well, I know about finance and, it's fine. But no, so your program completely turned my approach on its head and made me so much more effective and smart.
Knowing that we don't have that much time, and I just got a message from Luis, who joined the program a few programs ago. Luis, do you mind coming off stage and just, I don't know, saying whatever was on your mind? Wanted to hear a little bit about where you were before FWC and how it's helped you. I know you've raised some money since.
Yeah, totally. So a lot of work, a lot of prep that went into the program. It helped me like craft my storytelling, which actually got me into Techstars, I believe. I'm at Techstars New York office today.
Amazing.
And as we're approaching our demo day and getting all the materials that that Techstars suggests for the cohort to have, thanks to the fact that I had done all the Jason suggested, they said like, man, you're like on the top 1% of every single company that has gone through Techstars. Like the prep that goes into raising the work, the investor pipeline, the CRMs, the email drafts, the mail merge tools, how you scout your pipeline, your data room, like it really puts you on that top 1% of prepared founders. Like I believe you have a tweet or a quote about like how if you're gonna chop down a tree, the first 3 hours you gotta like sharpen your axe, and that sharpen your axe, and that's what it gets you, and it really helps you to close faster and do it really efficiently, and how to do the calendar density approach. So it's been super helpful, and yeah, it really prepares you for, well, it doesn't guarantee success, but it really helps you prepare to have a higher probability to succeed. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, Luis, thanks for spending time. I know you're a busy CEO, so for you to even jump into any of these programs, I really appreciate. Look, I think that's like a pretty good place to wrap up. Some people have thrown stuff in the chat. I haven't been looking at it. I'll see if I can respond to things afterwards. Moses asked about idle raising. I hate this. All right. So this is exactly the opposite approach to what I teach. I think he was talking about the idea of like lightly raising on the side while also being focused on product development. You could not raise as in just generate relationships and talk to people, but do not be having one-off conversations with investors, just hoping like one of these conversations will turn into money. That is the recipe to bleed out. You're gonna like string together these individual processes that don't have enough pressure to make any investor make the decision today. And could that work? Yes, there are some people that have randomly stumbled into an investor that just happened to love what they were doing and wrote a check, but that will not give you the best chance to succeed. Awesome. I'd love to see you guys apply for this cohort. We will continue to be doing all of our free workshops regardless. And we'll be following up with sending, I think we're going to send the diagram that I went through at the start, which can be helpful for some people. That sort of outline of what I think a fundraise can look like. It's not every fundraise, but being able to map to that will allow you to understand all the work that goes into the fundraise. And then by virtue of the fact that you came to this program, we will send you some additional emails with a bunch of tips and tricks to help you get you on your way, whether or not you join us for the program. Thanks, everyone. Really appreciate you guys.